Welcome to the Ultimate Tolkien Tournament. This is Middle-earth Madness. Yes, welcome back to the Chamber of Death, everyone. Glad to have you back. This is the Madness Maestro, flying solo for the moment being tonight as we bring you some fights in the third night of the third round of the Third Age Throwdown. How many thirds is that? 3/3? Yeah, so that is what we're doing. Good to have everyone back. Let's take a look at how we got here, shall we? So, behold the bracket. And tonight we are playing in the Isengard region. This has been I would call it a relatively chalky region, meaning the favorites have typically won the battles, except for good old Thorin Oakenshield down here, pulling the second round upset. First of all, the first round upset against Bo. And then he advanced, of course, to take on Treebeard. And in a pretty epic contest. Worth checking out, by the way, if you haven't seen this one. Go to our YouTube page and check this one out. Good fight. And Thorin got the better of Treebeard to advance to the round of 16 tonight, where he will take on Smaug. Straight out of the lore, this one. As you recall from the Hobbit books, right? Thorin's whole quest was to liberate Erebor from the dragon Smaug. So that'll be a cool one. Let us know your thoughts on that one. How you would handicap that fight if you were, just reading the books and actually about to see it. What chance would Thorin have of defeating Smaug? Then, like we said, in the top of the bracket, pretty much the favorites were winning. Slight upset in the first round where Landroval was able to slay Elrohir and advance to take on Boromir. Boromir won that one. And it advances tonight to fight Saruman, who beat Bilbo in the previous round, as expected, with not too much difficulty. So tonight, this is our first fight. Saruman against Boromir. So, before we do that, just to remind everyone here, we are also putting some skin in the game, and by that I mean we have a fantasy league running. Fantasy, pun fully intended, really. What we've done here is we all drafted rosters, as you can hopefully see on your screen here, of Lord of the Rings characters. We had a little budget, like a salary cap league if you play fantasy sports. We each started with 200 fake bucks and auctioned all these characters off. So highest bidder on each character wins. Obviously the 1 seeds, the 2 seeds, the 3 seeds were your most expensive characters. And, certain players like Campy and Josh you see here opted to only snag 4 dudes, but they were all pretty heavy hitters. Josh's roster, for example, Sauron, Elrond, both of which are still alive. Legolas and Gimli, some 4 seeds that have been slain, but are, still pretty badass warriors. Others down here, Hanti and Pattyman and Dattel, elected to go with large rosters, throwing darts a little bit here and hoping that your character will be the one to pull the upsets, because upsets are worth more. Yes. And we are joined by Hanti. How you doing, Hanti?
Good. How are you?
Good, man. Just giving a quick recap here on our fantasy league. So our seed differential, so the way upsets are worth more is we get a little upset bonus for the win. You know, your wins, just wins alone, are worth more the further in the tournament we go. So we're in round 3 right now. Each of tonight's wins, last night's wins, this week's wins are worth 30 points. But if there's an upset, you get the bonus of the seed differential, the difference between the 2 seeds that are fighting, times the round, which tonight will be times 3. So, this has benefited Chucky so far because he has Farmer Maggot on his roster that just keeps pulling these upsets. So in the first round, his 10-point victory was worth 11. In the second round, his 20-point victory was worth 36 because of the seed multiplier. Then he had another 36-point win last night. So Chucky is leading with 197. Closely followed, however, by Hanti, who used to have a very full roster and suddenly has a very thin roster with just Dane remaining. But, you know what we say here. You are never out of the fight, Hanti.
There is always hope.
Indeed. So that's where we're at. And tonight we will fight in the Isengard region.
Ooh. Now, Saruman versus Boromir.
Yes.
Now, speaking of one-man rosters, that is Patty Man's one man right there.
Also true. Yeah. He should be here tonight to watch his man. We should ping Patty Man. I will do so as we speak. But yeah, initial thoughts on this one, Hanti.
Oh man, this one's I feel like it's going to be a tough one to call. Depends on, because I feel like Saruman is going to be favoring ranged attacks a lot, and Boromir is going to be quite the opposite. So, if Boromir can get in close, then it could be, a one swing kill type of deal. But
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see like what how does the battle engine tell us?
Funny you should ask, my friend. Here we go. Yeah, so I think that's a good take, by the way. Totally agree. I think, seeing what we saw from Boromir in the first tournament sort of predisposes our thoughts, I guess, to kind of what he can do. So Boromir made an Elite 8 run in our March tournament, our Ultimate Tolkien tournament, which is your more conventional 64-team March Madness style bracket. Okay, and Boromir was pretty impressive. I don't remember what seed he was off the top of my head, but like a 6-7, something like that, right? Maybe an 8.
Oh gosh,
6, 7, 8.
It's been a while. It's been a while. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, man. In through there anyway, dude. Honestly, he might have been lower than an 8. There are so many studs from the first stage in that tournament. It really deflates third aid characters, because they got to go against the likes of Fingolfin and Thorondor and Ungoliant and Melian and Beren, heavy hitters, right? But nonetheless, Boromir made the Elite 8 in that thing, so he can do it.
He hewed some mighty process too. So it's not like he just, it wasn't like he had a favorable run. Like he handled business.
He totally handled, several upsets, right? So we know what he's capable of. By the way, if you're new to this display here, blue line Boromir on the graph, green line Saruman. I'm pointing with my mouse at the tables here, but these are your Madden stats. These are your stats that drive the battle engine in every battle that you see. So if you're a visual graph person, look over here. If you just want to see the Madden stats as we go through them here, look over here, right? But this just at a glance gives you the advantages for each character, right? So we see at a glance that Boromir, he has the better accuracy, although he's not going to want to use it. His accuracy is the Horn of Gondor. So his range combat is the Horn of Gondor, and that doesn't do damage as much as it's like a stunning attack, right? Because if you look at the piercing down here, it's only 40. Okay, so doesn't, you don't have the statistical thrust behind the attack that's going to land you many blows. However, I'm still remembering that March tournament where he knocked the crap out of someone with the Horn of Gondor. I don't remember who, but that's how he won one of his upsets. You remember that?
I do. And I was actually trying to look back. He was seeded number 11.
Oh my gosh, so way lower than I even thought.
Yeah, pretty much lower seed than what we remember for that.
Yeah. Good call.
I can't remember. He went through a few amount of like formidable fights, and I think he was eventually slain by was it Thingolfin or something? It was one of those like crazy characters.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, he blew that horn at one point and knocked his opponent off a cliff or something. Picture that we encourage folks to, picture the battlefield how you want. The battlefield is a very abstract concept in these fights, and I think one of our viewers said it best, where they're just like, I'm picturing. You're not telling me how to picture the battlefield, so I'm just picturing the battlefield like with my own terrain and everything. And I think that's exactly right. Like that's exactly what we want you guys doing. The only parameters we really set in terms of the battlefield. Read the second line of the readouts here, if you can see my mouse. Battlefield conditions slightly favor Boromir here. So characters will use their preferred weapon 92% of the time. Basically, what that is telling you, it's a randomized output, right? We like to inject a lot of randomness into these battles to really make it more like Middle-earth, because that's how Tolkien battles are, The Witch King is overconfident because of a prophecy that really isn't a prophecy. It's like this thing that Glorfindel spoke into reality, right? But it's not actually governing the fate of characters, or is it? Unless it is, because of course it ends up being true, right? So it ends up being fulfilled by Merry and Eowyn. Neither of which are a man in one way of looking at it, but in another way, both of them are mans.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
So look, the point being, Tolkien battles they have this high degree of randomness, and upsets are common. Not only are they possible, and you see it with all the heroes, right? But they're pretty common. So we tried to build that into the battle engine, and the way it works in terms of the battlefield is just a simple pair of dice rolls, quote unquote dice rolls in the algorithm that output this battlefield conditions. And, again, we encourage everyone, all our viewers, to picture that and interpret that kind of however you want, right? What are battlefield conditions? Well, is it foggy that day? Are there trees? Is it raining or storming? Is the ground marshy or rocky? Or is it, swampy? Whatever. Battlefield conditions are sort of deliberately nebulous, we'll say, right? So
is it in a city? Is it in the wilderness?
Totally. And each battle is different. So picture these totally like how you guys want. The only thing that really matters is how often will the battlefield conditions force a player to their weaker weapon, to their left hand, so to speak. And in this battle, it's not going to be often. And in most battles, it's not too often. It tends to be between 85 and 95% of the time they'll use their preferred weapon. However, just last night, we saw like a 50-50 battle where, your more balanced characters like Faramir is a good example, or Elladan, who is just as good with their bow and arrow as they are with their blade. So they don't care, right? So they want a messy battlefield that will force their opponent to their weaker weapon. And then they will have an advantage, right?
Exactly, yeah. I think it's interesting, too, like, when you kind of, like, imagine it, right? Like, I don't know, I guess kind of like, the way that I would picture it, it's kind of like if you played like the old school like Street Fighter games or whatever, where you're just like, you put two characters next to each other, right? And it just kind of puts like a random stage in the background.
Yeah.
I feel like it's like that, but it actually matters.
Yeah, there you go. Except it kind of doesn't in a way too, right? Because that's a good example, because yeah, it'd be like Street Fighter, and the background doesn't matter, but sometimes there's a box in the middle of the field that advantages a guy. Zangief is the dude I always liked. Zangief and E Honda, right? Because I don't want to press 10,000 buttons to do a special attack. Like, let me just hammer on the X key, and like E Honda will swat you 5,000 times, and I can get you that way, right?
Yeah.
Or back A. Hey, you can. And yeah, easy enough. But things that's like a cheat code, that stupid thing. But great game for its time. I like the example.
It is. It's a ton of fun, especially like at arcades. I feel like we don't get that experience nowadays. But
I know. And I guess we save a lot of quarters, except nobody uses quarters anymore. So what do kids do at the arcade now? They just take out their phone and like scan it on a machine with a QR code and play a video game that way? Or I mean, there aren't even arcades, so who knows?
I don't know. I think like there's like you can get like kind of like cards. At least that's what the last time I went to CC's Pizza, which
nice. Is that still around?
Yeah, it is. But it was like, instead of like a like a dollar machine that you could do, it was like you could preload a card like you would at Dave and Buster's, and so you just swipe it to play your games.
I got you. Yeah, David and Buster. That's weird. Right. I've done the Dave and Buster cards before, and actually, speaking of defunct franchises, CC's Pizza is making a comeback, at least out here in the Carolinas. Like,
is it?
I saw one the other day, and I thought they were gone. Well, I know for a fact they were bankrupt, but I should have remembered the Lao. Bankrupt does not necessarily mean going bye-bye. It means you're restructuring and paying debtors a certain way, and then you're going to get bought out. And sometimes you get do-overs, right? Sometimes you don't, like Toys R Us. I still miss that place. But I bought all my Lord of the Rings mans at Toys R Us back in the day when the movies were out. And now Toys R Us is bye-bye.
Which, funny enough, I think, was it a week or two ago, I saw a Toys R Us inside of a Macy's in San Francisco, like downtown San Francisco. And I was like, oh, I thought that these were completely obliterated, but apparently there's at least one.
What? Okay. So I might have to eat crow on what I just said. Maybe someone did buy them out or do a deal with them to use the brand, right?
I don't know. But I was shocked about it, because every Toys R Us I know would close down. So,
dude, I still have. Auntie, you didn't visit me at college. Dang it, you should have. Zane and Chucky came up that one time, and I had like all the cutouts of. I had a Saruman cutout, a Boromir cutout, Aragorn, Gandalf, like cardboard life-size cut, and the whole collection of mans. So,
that's awesome.
The collection has been, stripped way down over the years, but I still have most of those action figures. So yeah, maybe for desperate for content, sometimes I'll do a show where I bust out all those bad boys and we can talk about them. That'd be fun.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Meanwhile, let us get to the first fight of the night. We don't need to go too deep into the stats here. Suffice to say, Saruman is a 1 seed. He has extremely favorable odds here. But the one thing I will say is pay attention to Boromir's armor. And he has slight advantages in striking, significant advantage in ferocity and valor too. So he is a valiant man of Gondor. And, look, he's got some 90s. He's got 90s in ferocity. You can't get much more valorous than Boromir. Of course, his Horn of Gondor is very accurate, but can't... Say again?
I was to say the accuracy on the Horn of Gondor is kind of like almost a misleading stat.
Yeah, it really is.
Too much.
You're not going to miss, right? But hitting also doesn't do much damage with 40, right? So, yeah, it would be fun to watch. Fun to see what happens when he busts out that horn. That's one of those wild card type things.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sure if it got somehow like a heavily hewn, I guess it would be like somebody having a heart attack because of the horn.
Yeah. Yeah, or like falling off a cliff. Falling and breaking their leg. Picture it how you want, right? We encourage creativity around here.
Well, feel like we've been dilly-dallying a little bit, so shall we do it?
Do you mean we should fight?
I do. I think that we should get on
Then
and-
let us fight. In the first fight of the night, we have Saruman against Boromir. Let us fight! First attack to Saruman using the Istari incantation, but he misses. Boromir counters, misses. Sauron attacks, hits, wounds! A slight smite off the bat.
Right off the
third
bat.
round. Can Boromir counter with his blade? He attacks, hits, no damage. Saruman counters, misses. Boromir misses. Saruman hits, no damage off the shield. Boromir counters, hits, wounds! A slight smite to even the fight and take a slight lead. In the 8th round, both characters are so far using their preferred weapons. Let us see if it continues. Saruman
Really even
gets
so
up,
far.
dusts himself off, brandishes his staff, and misses. Boromir counters, hits, wounds! A slight smite, taking the wizard down to 32 life. Boromir with the lead through 10 rounds. What can Saruman do? He attacks, he hits, he wounds! Evens the fight again.
Oh,
White
this is a
staff.
good one.
He does that with his melee weapon. So he smacks Boromir with the staff. Saruman, of course, doesn't have a blade that we know of. He's merely using his staff. I guess he could hunk a palantir at someone, but that'd be a one-time thing. Boromir counters, misses. Saruman hits, but does no damage. Window's still open for Boromir. I feel like he needs to do some damage forthwith. Not that time. Advantage to Saruman. Misses. When I say advantage, I meant not the point advantage. Boromir still leads in points, but Saruman had the attack there and missed. Boromir comes back, hits, no damage. Saruman comes back, engages but cannot hit with his Istari Incantatio. And here comes Boromir. Another miss. Saruman hits and wounds! A slight smite, taking Boromir down to the brink of death.
That took a few rounds to finally get some damage on either character.
Yes, it did. In the 20th round, can Boromir make it interesting? Whiff! And Saruman comes back. Hits, wounds! But minimal damage. Boromir still holding on. Can he do any damage? A miss! Saruman comes back, also misses. Boromir barely alive. He swings and misses. Saruman counters, hits, wounds! Down to 3! Boromir is not out of the fight yet in the 25th round, but he must do damage here. Can he wield his blade? A miss! A counter by Saruman. Is it enough? Another miss. Boromir comes back. A hit! No damage. Advantage to Saruman. Can he finish it? A hit! No damage. Boromir is still alive. In the 30th round, can he do any damage? Whiff! Saruman comes back. Hit! No damage.
Oh, the
Boromir
suspense is
fighting till
building.
the end. Just like he did in the Fellowship with 3 tree trunks sticking out of his chest. Can he do any damage?
Let's
He
see.
engages, but he cannot hit. Advantage to Saruman. A miss. Now Boromir comes back. A miss. Saruman engages, cannot hit. Boromir swings, hits, wounds, but only minimal damage. It's not enough, leaving the window open for the White Wizard to finish it. Can he do it?
Was that the one?
He missed. Boromir comes back. In the 38th round, can't engage. Saruman comes back, hits, wounds, slay.
Yeah. You just knew that one tink from Boromir was his one chance.
Yes.
Wow,
Unbelievable effort by the man of Gondor. But in the end, it is not enough.
What a fight, though, ladies and gentlemen. I mean,
Yes.
it really just had us on the edge of our seat with a lot of suspense. Just little bit.
I hear you, man. Good stuff right there. Good fight. That's what we want to see, man. Boromir had his chances, man, and he just, once he was wounded, he couldn't engage the wizard enough to really do any damage.
Yeah, that was one of those where, especially particularly that part where Boromir was doing some damage. It looks like he had like Saruman on the ropes there, and until Saruman right here around 11, where he like hit Boromir with his staff, and like knock him back. Then it's but I guess I'm just trying to back to the whole imagining the fights thing, right?
Yeah, exactly right. That's what we want everyone doing. And I sort of pictured him a little bit like you, Hunty, where he was he being Boromir, just the second half of the fight, really into the later rounds when he was already wounded, he's still got his shield, right? And he's got a high-ish armor rating. He's not a dwarf or a dragon, right? But he's got a high-ish armor rating because of that shield. And he just can, linger behind his shield, be a little bit sneaky, fight it out. And you saw Saruman land a lot of blows, but not do a ton of damage, right? So that's what I was picturing anyway. Everyone watching at home, drop us a comment and let us know how you picture these fights. We, if you've watched us before, you've heard us say, well, we hesitate to give you too much artwork. I'm biased. I love our art team. I think they did a great job, reimagining all these characters. That's part of the fun, right? We wanted to reimagine all our favorite guys and gals, independently, straight from the source material. And so we did that. We kind of got carried away with it because it ended up being a lot of fun, But for these fights, dude, picture these guys however you guys see them, and picture them fighting how you guys see them fighting. Of course, we've given you a bit of a head start with the descriptions on the readouts and everything. But picture this as a tabletop game. Part of the fun of which, if you play D&D or the Lord of the Rings version. What was it called, Hunty? The minis? Strategy Middle Earth game. Yeah,
it's like Middle Earth strategy battle game or something like that.
Yeah, where you paint the metal minis, or I guess now they're plastic minis, and do battle that way. Dude, a ton of fun. Picture it how you want to picture it, and hopefully you guys enjoy that, because we're bringing imagination back to the Chamber of Death. Kids.
Yes.
So, good stuff, man. What do we got next, Hunty?
Well, what is the second fight?
Yes.
Versus Smaug. This one, straight from the books.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Straight from the books. Give us your initial breakdown while I queue up the old battle engine.
Well, if I remember the dragons from the last tournament, pretty fell in the terms of armor. Now dwarves will also have high armor. So really, I think it's going to be a matter of whether Smaug prefers to use his fire breath versus the claws. I'm sure.
Good point. Yep. Yeah, man. Look, I think if we're not mincing words, this is one of those, if I'm going from the lore, I'm like, oh, okay, well, Thorin's toast. Bye-bye. Right?
But, one-on-one?
Yeah. That's I think is most people's thought. I venture to guess, right? But and it should be probably, right? You got a raging dragon against a wee lad of a dwarf, right? Why do dwarves always have Scottish accents? I don't know. I wish we could get away with that too. So I won't perpetuate that whole thing. But imagining Thorin however you want to imagine him, probably not with a Scottish accent. He just wouldn't have much of a chance against this thing. Smaug is a nasty, nasty bastard. So, that being said, this is Middle-earth. Anything can happen in a one-on-one. You do have a chance, and you are not out of the fight. Thorin will be advantaged by the fact that he is wielding Orcrist, the Goblin Cleaver. Absent in that name or nickname is Dragon Cleaver. So, maybe this will not avail him. But it's a fell blade nonetheless. I don't think, if we look at his striking here for Thorin Oakenshield, he's got 86, largely because of Orcrist. He's got 88 armor, as Hanti mentioned. These are good numbers. These are numbers that can carry you in battle. He's got 83 toughness, largely by virtue of being one of the Naugrim. That's kind of where they shine. They're tough bastards. In the Silmarillion, we hear Tolkien tell us, a warlike race of old were all the Naugrim. And it's well known also that they forge some of the most fell blades. The Noldor would have, an argument there. But they definitely forge the best mail and armor.
Yes, Mithril. Now, it's interesting when you look at the graph on the side, right? It's actually a lot more even than you would initially expect it to be as well.
Good point. Yeah, so green line Smaug, if you're new to these graphics, guys, or lack thereof, basically this is how we break down the data for you. If the table makes more sense to you, by all means, go with the table. The red column here is the advantage for each character. I find that the advantage is easier to see in the graph. So, because you can tell at a glance, like, okay, green line is Smaug. Green line is above the blue line, which is Thorin. So, obviously, the higher guy has the advantage, right? Or maybe not obviously, but that's how you read it. The higher guy has the advantage. Or you can just look at the red bar in the background sticking up and see that, oh, man, that's actually a huge advantage in piercing for Smaug because he breathes fire. That's his ranged attack. He's going to prefer to disengage Thorin. Like, why get up close and personal with Thorin and get whacked by Orcrist? That doesn't feel too good. It's like a mosquito biting you, right? You don't want that if you're Smaug. Maybe it's like a bee sting. We'll give Thorin a little more credit. We'll give the elves of Gondolin their due for forging a fell blade in Orcrist, right? So it's like a bee sting. You don't want to get bee stings. You want to hang back and use your Dragon Blast. Sure. So that's what Smaug's going to try to do. That's the first line of the readout here. Smaug prefers range combat with his Dragon Fire. Thorin, really his only chance, is to engage with Orcrist. How will he do that? Well, your engagement stats are driven by your agility. For Thorin, that's 74, which is okay, not bad. Mm-hmm. It's not elven agility or hobbit agility, okay, but it's not bad. But more importantly is what you're balancing agility against when you engage, and that's worth taking a quick look at here. So your agility determines how you move into striking position, which in turn determines engagement. You'll see in the readouts during the fight, so-and-so engages. Well, that's what we're talking about here. Your Madden stat agility against what? The enemy's elusiveness. Okay? So when we look at Thorin, his 74 is only one data point. What really matters is the matchup and the enemy's elusiveness. So in a lot of these, we kind of cross-multiply here. So if you see these two, Thorin will be engaging with 74 against Smaug's 52 elusiveness. He is not an elusive creature. He's a lumbering behemoth, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So Thorin will engage, which is good news for him. He has a chance there, because if he can engage in melee, then he's pretty fell. Again, ferocity at 85, valor at 84. Those both go towards what kind of damage he could do at the very end here. The last phase of battle on your far right, you roll for melee damage over here. Well, first you got to roll to wound. But rolling to wound and rolling to damage, Thorin's going to be pretty good at that. So it says here, what we've already said. Thorin should be able to engage during melee against Smaug because of that elusiveness versus agility factor. Now, the rest is going to be much more even because Smaug, 87 armor, 83 deflection. That's against range combat, which Thorin doesn't want to use. But he's got 98 toughness. He's maxed out. They're pretty much the only race that's tougher than the dwarves is the dragons.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, he's 90 in valor as well. So on defense, Smaug is tough. And so it's going to come down to a few lucky strikes. Is that how you see it, Hunty?
Yeah. I mean, I think the whole dexterity and then possibly armor is going to be a big one here, right? To see if Thorin can stick it out, because they're completely even when you take in the armor stats and even dexterity, like there's only like a 1 point differential, like. So
yeah,
trying to like look at that, things like deflection, like we know like Smaug's fire is going to hit because he's got 91 piercing.
So he's only got 70 accuracy. He's not super accurate. He's not pinpoint like an elven archer. Mm-hmm. But if it hits you, 91 piercing. So it's going to do damage if he hits you. Now, that's a good point, though, that you bring up. His accuracy would have to be counterbalanced against Thorin's dexterity. And Thorin, he just doesn't have great dexterity. He's got 60. So it'll be Smaug 70, which is accurate enough against 60 dexterity. So he will hit the dwarf. And once he hits, again, Thorin's got good armor. So not every time will he, scorch the dwarf. But he will do damage.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of one of those things where I guess it really just depends on because like you see the battlefield conditions slightly favor Thorin. So like does that mean they're in some sort of area where maybe Smaug can't go into flight as much, right? So does that mean that they'll have to engage in melee a little bit more? I don't know.
Yeah, so again, picture the battlefield however you guys want. The important thing, I guess, mathematically, if you're into how algorithms work behind the scenes or really just the numbers, what this is telling you is that each character is going to get their preference when it comes to weapons, all but 7-ish% of the time, right? Which, I mean, who's your more balanced characters? It's Smaug. So although the readout sort of says battlefield conditions slightly favor Thorin, in this matchup, you could argue that's kind of not true because of how balanced Smaug is. Like, if Smaug has to use his melee, he's still a freaking beast. I mean, 86 striking. What else? 93 ferocity. He's just fine in melee, right? Mm-hmm. He's not very strong in stamina or spirit, but neither is Thorin. He's stronger in stamina and spirit than Thorin is, or almost as strong, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, well, let's see. I mean, maybe you never know.
Yep. Who are you picking in this one, Hanti?
I have to go with Smaug. I don't know. I just don't see how Thorin will do it, but I will be cheering for Thorin if he does.
Let us know in the comments who you guys like in this one, and drop a comment and let us know your thoughts. Meanwhile, let us fight! In the second and final fight of the night, we have Thorin against Smaug. Let us fight! Smaug with the first attack. Tink off the armor of Thorin. Thorin counters, hits, but does not wound off the armor of the Worm of the North. From the Withered Heath. Great name of a map area, right? The Withered Heath. Smaug comes back and attacks. Hits, cannot pierce the dwarvish armor. I'm sensing an early theme here, Hunty.
Interesting.
Armor versus armor. Thorin counters. Engages but cannot hit. Smaug comes back. Engages but cannot hit. And they're dancing. Back and forth. Oh, a hit and a wound! Only minimal damage with the dragon fire by the worm. Thorin comes back. Hit! Wounds! Again, minor damage to the armor. We could be here a while at this rate.
Take some time.
And they're dancing. Back and forth. A hit and a wound by the worm.
Once
Minimal
again.
damage. Surprise, surprise. Thorin cannot engage. Smaug hit. Wounds. Slay with the death stroke.
That just came out of nowhere.
We jinxed it, dude.
We did. Because I was like,
Oh, we
okay,
could be here for a
okay.
while. Slay.
Yeah.
Nope. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Smaug was not playing with this food in that one.
Yeah, I think it's like he's just trying to, maybe like turn on the the burners or something.
Yeah. Yeah, a couple of those wasp stings that we were talking about with Orcris, he's like, not a big fan of this. Now you must die, foul one. Fertig. So,
Like, Thorin
Burnt
ended up.
Dwarf is back on the menu, ladies and gentlemen.
So there's that reminds me of that like scene from Shrek where he's like going through the castle and like, you just see the shadow of the knight that was like burnt to a crisp.
Yes.
That's pretty much Thorin.
Yeah, pretty much. So let us hand out some fantasy points, shall we? I'm going to give 30 points for Smaug's victory over there to Campy. There you go, Campy. And I'm going to give... Oh, where's Saruman? Oh, that's Patty Man's last guy.
Yes.
30 points for Saruman. Now, who's been slain? Boromir has been slain.
Yes. So, sorry, Campy.
Campy. Man, he's down to Gandalf and Smaug, so one hand taketh and one hand giveth tonight for Campy.
Not bad though, because he has a good amount of points.
Yeah,
that he
true.
has,
He's still in it for sure, because, Gandalf and Smaug, heavy hitters.
Mm-hmm.
And who am I missing? Who else got slain? Thorin. Bye-bye. Dattel is down to one man. Or woe man. Or elf chick. However you want to say it. And that is Gladriel. One left. But he's also doing good in points, so...
Yeah. I think he's
Slay.
currently third, right?
I think that's right, yeah.
And I mean, only 1 point behind. So.
Yep. Oh, only one. Is that right? 1 point. Yeah, dude.
1 point.
1 point behind you, and then both of you guys are about 50-ish points behind Chucky. Oy. Dude, I don't know. I got the sneaking feeling that Campy or Josh is still going to win this with their freaking 4-man rosters. I don't know why. That's just a hunch, but
I mean, it's looking good for them. They have
kind of is, right? I mean, I won't claim to be super good with the maths, but that's Engine Chief's forte. But I don't know, man. I just look at the characters, and I'd want to have Gandalf and Smaug the rest of the way.
Sauron or Elrond.
Or yeah, dude.
So,
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I mean, especially I think if we look at the brackets now, kind of like what is the seating in it?
Yeah.
I mean, let me take a look.
I'll pull it
Go
up
to the
too
website.
on my end. We got a comment here. Oh, Mr. McBride saying, "Oh my God, still in it. You are never out of the fight, Mr. McBride."
Let's see, because you have Isengard region. Yeah, Saruman versus Smaug. That one's gonna be good.
Yeah, so here, we'll do this the right way and go ahead and make this official. So Smaug will advance to take on Saruman, as you just said, Hunty. I'm just making it official behind the scenes here. And then we'll refresh this, so it'll get super tiny, and then we'll zoom back in. So, where are we at? There we go.
There we go.
Making it official. Our next fight in the Elite Eight. Saruman against Smaug. Well, based on tonight, I like Smaug in that one. But
yeah.
You never know. Saruman might fight a little bit better. He with these heavily armored characters, though, he does that Istari incantation, and sort of at range. And I don't feel like that's the most fell attack. And his melee just isn't that good, Saruman's. But here's the thing. Wizards are a lot better on defense than they get credit for, because you think, and it stands out like dog's balls in the graph too. His armor is like nothing. It's terrible. Okay, but armor is only one little part of his overall defense. And the rest of his stats, he's like in the 90s with spirit and toughness and things like that. Because, the Asari are sneaky tough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, what is it, like spirit, magic, right? They're going to be through the roof, probably maxed out. So, that'll be an interesting matchup for sure. I think. Yeah. I'm curious to even know if what type of, I guess what Smaug, being such a level character, would prefer in that battle.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a good point, because Saruman's going to want to range it out, right? Fight ranged. So this is one of those matchups Smaug might be wanting to get close and dirty, and do the melee attack with the jaws and the tail. So that'll be interesting to see. Meanwhile, tomorrow, quick look ahead, ladies and gents. Join us tomorrow for the Gondor region, last region of the third round. Man, we're wrapping up the third round mighty fast. Mm-hmm. Tomorrow night, we will be fighting Durin's Bane against Radagast the Brown in another Maya against Maya throwdown.
Which is interesting. I don't know. I particularly love this matchup, because we know Gandalf the Grey, the Durin's Bane in a very close fight. Mm-hmm. But how does Radagast fall into this, right? I don't think, because we never really see Radagast's like true power in the books. Exactly. I don't feel like
exactly.
You know what I mean? So this one I'm curious about and excited about.
Yeah, no doubt. And he's handled himself well, Radagast. He totally took apart the Olag High. That we were hoping for a little bit better from our old troll over there, but he got wasted by Radagast. And then Legolas also, I mean, he put up a fight, but I could be misremembering that one. Do you happen to remember? I want to say Radagast still had like 70 some points of life at the end of that one too.
I don't recall this one.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be honest.
No worries. Yeah, I think Radagast did fine. So he's been handling business. And then down at the bottom, we have the upset-minded Dane Ironfoot, who slew Beorn to advance to the round of 16, where tomorrow he shall take on Elrond, the half-elven.
This one, I think, is also going to be a good matchup.
Yes.
Of course, you have your. Have we seen an elf on dwarf fight in the tournament so far? I mean,
I want to say yes, but let's have a look. Who could it have been?
Because I don't think we have.
Elf on dwarf, Eladon against Gimli, kind of half elf.
Kind of counts, yeah.
And Eladon slew Gimli with one arrow.
I remember that. Yeah, just one hit.
Biggest
Boom.
beatdown of the tournament. Poor Gimli. Just never drew his axe.
Yeah, I remember that
Just
one.
slain. And then, well, we had a dwarf, elf versus dwarf. I think that was the only one. Yeah, it might have been the only one there.
Well, I'm glad that Elrond doesn't really use an elbow, or not an elbow, a bow.
Yeah, he might drop an elbow on you though.
Yeah, you never know.
You never know. Yeah, so join us tomorrow, everyone. That should be fun.
Yes, good fights for tomorrow, everybody. Stay tuned.
Yes, indeed. Meanwhile, as you see in red there at the bottom, for more, much more, go to our website. Check out our website if you haven't already, middleearthmadness.com. Actually, subscribe to our website, and that's even better. You'll be the first to get all the news for all the upcoming stuff that's in the pipeline, which is substantial amount of cool stuff we got planned for you guys. So please check out the website. Also, all this stuff in red at the bottom of your screen. Like, share, subscribe. That way you don't miss the future battles. Not just the battles, though. New games and I can't say too much yet. So yeah, I know it sounds like a big tease. But Hanti, we're developing a couple really cool new rollouts for everyone, new layers on the battle engine, new games, full out games and apps. So definitely stay tuned. Tell some friends. You got some Tolkien friends on that probably don't know about us yet. Let them know. We appreciate you guys. Drop more comments. If they're appropriate, we might show them on screen like we did tonight. But if they're inappropriate, we will definitely show them on screen. So keep them coming.
Yes, indeed. Now, I guess kind of, the lore side, it really does help, channel to help, the like, subscribe, everything, algorithms and all those things. So we do really appreciate it.
Well said, man. Yeah, thank you. And with that, listen. Thanks for joining tonight, Hanti. Appreciate you, man. And to everyone out there watching, until the next battle, remember, as Professor Tolkien says, you can only come to the morning through the shadows, and where there is life, there is always hope. You are never out of the fight